Usually when you hear someone say Northern Lights, you think like way up north, right? Like bundled up in Alaska somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, not this time. This past week, the Aurora decided to go big.
It did.
And folks, as far south as Texas and even Florida got a peek. Did you happen to see this thing? I mean, it's kind of hard to miss. But anyway, we got to dive into what made this happen because it's not just a pretty light show, right?
Right.
We're digging into some pretty interesting reports trying to figure out the science behind all of this. And maybe, just maybe, we can figure out if we'll get to see it again sometime.
Yeah. The reach on this aurora is definitely something special. Usually you only see these displays near the Earth's poles. I mean, that's why they're called the Northern Lights. So seeing them light up the sky this far south, it's telling us there are some pretty powerful forces at work.
For sure. For sure. So all the articles I've read keep mentioning something called a coronal mass ejection coming from the sun, which honestly sounds kind of scary.
It's definitely a mouthful.
So what exactly is happening there? Break it down for us.
Okay, so imagine this. A massive burst of energy and charged particles just blasting out from the sun's outer atmosphere. Like a sudden superpowered sneeze, but from the sun. That's basically what a coronal mass ejection is, a CME for short. And these particles, they're not messing around. They travel at crazy speeds, and when they reach Earth, bam, they slam into our planet's magnetic field.
Okay, so that's what causes the light show. I mean, it makes sense they're connected, but the articles also mention something about our atmosphere getting involved. What's going on up there?
Think of the Earth's magnetic field as our planet's personal bodyguard, right? It's this invisible shield protecting us from the never-ending stream of particles the sun's always throwing at us.
Sounds like a pretty important job.
It is. And most of the time, this shield does an amazing job. But every now and then, the sun throws something extra powerful our way. A really strong CME, like we just had, can actually mess with Earth's magnetic field, making it kind of bend and warp a little. And that lets some of those charged particles slip past the shield and into the atmosphere. And that, my friend, is where the magic happens.
So we basically have a cosmic rave going on in our atmosphere.
Pretty much. So these particles are interacting with different gases in the upper atmosphere, like oxygen and nitrogen, and depending on the type of gas and how high up it is, they release different colors of light, and boom, that's how we get those mesmerizing auroras we see.
Okay, so let me get this straight. The sun unleashes a CME, which is like a super-powered solar sneeze.
A very accurate description.
Right, and then Earth's magnetic field, our shield, gets a little dented and warped, letting those particles slip through. And then, bam, they hit our atmosphere, creating these glowing, moving curtains of light. It's incredible. It really puts things in perspective, how interconnected everything in space really is. But these reports also mention that the sun is in a period of heightened activity and that this might not be a one-off. What exactly does that mean for us down here on Earth?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? So the sun goes through natural cycles of activity, kind of like a cosmic heartbeat with peaks and valleys roughly every 11 years. And right now, we're on the upswing towards a peak, which means we can expect more frequent and intense solar events like CMEs in the coming months and years.
So does that mean we've got more chances to catch the aurora, even in places you wouldn't expect? I'm already thinking about booking a flight to Texas. But seriously, this heightened solar activity, what else does it mean for us down here on Earth? Is it all pretty lights and cool photos, or is there more to the story?
It's a great question, and honestly, it's something scientists are looking into all the time. Yeah, the aurora is stunning, no doubt, but these solar storms, they have other impacts too. Remember those charged particles we were talking about? The ones causing the aurora?
Yeah, those tiny things causing all that fuss.
Right. Well, they can do more than just light up the sky. They can actually mess with things like radio communications and even GPS signals.
Really? No way.
Yeah. And get this, in extreme cases, they could even overload power grids and cause, blackouts.
Okay, so maybe not all good news then. So what are we doing about it? Are we just waiting for the lights to go out?
No, not at all. Scientists are always monitoring the sun's activity, and we've gotten pretty good at predicting when these solar storms might hit us. There are systems in place to try and lessen the impact.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. It's pretty amazing when you think about it, This giant ball of fire millions of miles away can have such a direct impact on our lives. You don't really think about it much.
It's incredible, right? And it just shows how important it is to keep studying the sun and learning everything we can about how it works. The more we know, the better we can deal with whatever it throws our way. But hey, speaking of incredible in space, while we were all busy being mesmerized by the northern lights, something equally amazing might have been happening at the other end of our planet.
Wait, you mean the Southern Lights? Are you saying there were 2 shows going on at the same time? And we missed it. So there are TWO light shows happening at the same time on opposite sides of the planet. Why haven't we seen more photos from, down south?
Well, think about it. What's down there? Lots of ocean, right? Not so many people with their phones out.
Just saying.
Antarctica probably had the best view. But penguins aren't exactly known for their Instagram skills.
Good point, good point. But okay, back to the sun for a sec. This double aurora thing is kind of wild, right? Does it mean even more solar fireworks are coming? Like, is this just the beginning?
Now, that's the question, isn't it? Scientists are always trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
We expect more action from the sun during these cycles, but how much? How intense? It's tough to say for sure.
So we could be in for an even wilder ride.
It's possible. And that's why we got to keep our eyes on the sun, literally. The more we learn, the better prepared we'll be, whether it's protecting our power grids or maybe someday even harnessing that solar energy. Who knows?
From potential blackouts to maybe powering our homes someday, that's quite a range. Sounds like the sun keeps us on our toes.
It definitely does. But it's a good reminder that we're part of this incredible system, this vast universe. There's always more to discover.
Well said. Well, it seems like our deep dive into these amazing auroras has brought up more questions than answers, but it's definitely got me hooked on all things space.
And that's what we like to hear. There's always something new to explore, right?
Absolutely. And who knows, maybe the next time the aurora decides to make a surprise appearance, you'll be lucky enough to catch it yourself. Until then, keep looking up and keep asking questions. Thanks for joining us for another deep dive.